We've been exploring the lore of various enemies and characters in Elden Ring for almost 2 years, and in that time, today's topic has made several appearances. If you spend any amount of time riding Torrent around the map, you'll come across groups of shambling men, seemingly with no destination. Many follow caravans across the lands between, but some walk in smaller groups, just sauntering across the land, seemingly devoid of purpose. But who were these nobles of the lands between before the Shattering, long before the demigods warred and the land suffered? Also, why do they wander, and what is it they search for? It may surprise you to know that aside from some of the humanoid ghouls that can still be encountered, such as the putrid corpse, these men may be the last remnants of normal humanoid life in the lands between. They held no strength, only status, and are now an example of the hard effects of undeath. Welcome to Elden Lore, our weekly series diving into the backgrounds of the people, places, and monsters of the lands between. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for taking some time to hang out with us today, and if you've been with us for a while, welcome back. At the end of this episode, if you end up enjoying this lore dive, please consider subscribing to the channel and becoming a member of our community. With over 118 episodes, we believe you'll be able to find any Elden Ring information you're looking for in our playlist, but if not, just let us know in the comments and we can explore it. We also have a Discord, and with the DLC fast approaching, our community is having more fun than ever sharing their thoughts and theories. Whether you subscribe or not, thank you for taking the time to be with us today, and with that said, let's get back to the topic at hand. When we talk about the Wandering Nobles, there are 5 different variations to keep in mind. The Noble Sorcerers, who are the only nobles capable of wielding magic. The Old Nobles, who hold up banners and sound their war horns upon seeing our tarnished. The Soldier Nobles, who wear the aristocrat coat and wield the noble's estoc. The Common Nobles, who wield the noble's slender sword. And the Treasure Nobles, a rare variation with the capability to hide from us as we hunt them down. Interestingly, when it comes to the past of these people, there seems to be some variation between them. All of the nobles wearing the aristocrat set tell us they were nobles of the capital. The old aristocrat set specifies it was garb favored by the aged, meaning when their journey started, these were the elders in their groups. And the aristocrat coat tells us it is a belonging of a family which claims a knight as their ancestors. Not that they themselves were knights, just that they have knight ancestry in their family line. While this may differentiate between different noble classes, those societal lines seem to have broken down by the time we reach the lands between, and all of the nobles are essentially on equal footing. The most important thing to know about the Wandering Nobles is that they're originally residents of the capital city of Leyndell. All of their armor sets tell us the same thing. They are travel attire worn by nobles in the capital. Abandoning their birthplace after the Shattering, these undead warriors are the pitiful product of unending life. So it would seem that after the Shattering, nobles fled the capital in droves. For what reason, we can't say for sure, but their ashes do give us a clue. Spirits of nobles who, after death, now wander the lands between. Surely they were in search of something once, but whatever it was has long been forgotten. This implies that these nobles left the city in search of something specific, possibly runes in order to gain strength, as the treasure nobles tend to drop significant runes from their chests. It's also possible that they weren't searching for physical objects, but a new home. After the Shattering, Leyndell became a target, and we know of 2 separate instances when its walls needed to be defended from invaders. The siege led by Godfrey and Godric, as well as the siege led by Radahn. While both of these attacks were pushed back by the capital, the nobles who lived in luxury during more peaceful times may have seen the fall of their home as an inevitability, and struck out to find somewhere they could live away from the war. We can assume no nobles remain in the capital, as when we explore it ourselves, we don't encounter a single one. It would seem that over time, all the nobles of Leyndell, young and old, struck out on their own. some with hired muscle in the form of the Kaiden sellswords, others with their own little band of noble warriors, complete with an old aristocrat to sound their horn in case of battle. Suffice to say, these nobles were delusional if they expected to find a better life away from the capital, as we can now see what they've become. These men didn't even properly equip themselves for battle, as the majority of them that are wielding weapons carry either the noble's estoc or the noble's slender sword, both of which are described as being made easy to wield, and daubed with gold from tip to tail. It should fetch a good sum. These swords serve little purpose outside of decoration, or fodder for those needing to barter. One need only face these nobles in battle to see just how pathetic their fighting skills are, and I'd venture to guess that it was this way long before their bodies shriveled and aged due to their inability to die a true death. The only nobles to fight with magic are an interesting case for just how pitiful the nobility of the lands between was before the Shattering. The noble sorcerers carry the most basic of glintstone staffs, and only have the ability to cast a single sorcery, Glintstone Pebble. Their ashes tell us more about these men. Spirit of a nobleman who once asked to be given a place at Raya Lucaria to learn glintstone sorceries. His talents were insufficient to be worthy of donning the stone crown, however, and he is only capable of using the most rudimentary sorcery. You could make a case that these nobles found their way to Raya Lucaria after the Shattering, but I'd argue that they used their money and influence to enroll in the academy during times of peace, seeing their ability to wield glintstone sorcery as a form of status. I believe this because of what the sorcerer's Great Glintstone Shard and Swift Glintstone Shard tell us. Those unworthy of the stone crown typically end their brief journey into sorcery here. To me, this means that the noble sorcerers didn't bother learning anything beyond Glintstone Pebble, as they deemed it too difficult. Couple this with these sorcerers being found wandering with other groups of nobles, and it comes across as if they had no need to study beyond the point of learning Glintstone Pebble. They had no natural talent, and no desire to study and gain further knowledge, so they simply left the academy to go home and impress the other nobles with their newfound ability to cast a basic spell. There is one aspect of the wandering nobles I don't have a solid answer to. Why do large groups of them follow the caravans making their way across the lands between? You could argue that these nobles are so far gone mentally that they simply follow along with any large group, so they can continue to search for whatever it was they set out on their journey for. But what if that's not the case? It may be possible that the nobles following these processions are actually the owners of the caravans themselves, and they're meant to house the items they gather on their journey. This would explain why these caravans contain chests with valuable items we can loot, and since we believe the Kaiden sellswords would take on contracts protecting these nobles on the road, that could bolster this theory, as they can also be found amongst the nobles and will protect the caravan. Whoever the wandering nobles were before the Shattering is lost to the ages between the event and the arrival of our Tarnished in the lands between. Their motivations can only be speculated upon, because with life unending, their minds have degraded to the point where they can no longer recall why they left their home in the first place. It's interesting that their item descriptions describe them as undead, because that means while they're nothing but skeletal figures, now mindlessly wandering the land, they're not truly dead in the same way as those who live in death. They retain their souls, and with that they live to some extent. The fact that any of these nobles remain is ridiculous considering the dangers of the lands between, but it seems that these men of means became so deeply irrelevant to their own culture that they're now left alone by the greater forces that govern the land. Theirs is a cursed existence, aging indefinitely due to their inability to die, with their true goal forever out of reach due to the degradation of both their bodies and their minds. Thank you for joining us for this breakdown of the different factions of wandering nobles shambling their way across the lands between. What do you think these nobles were in search of when they left Leyndell? Do you believe they own the caravans they walk alongside, or did they simply do so out of habit? Will wandering nobles make an appearance in the Land of Shadow, or will we have new fodder enemies across the DLC's map? Let us know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and set notifications to all so you never miss out on any of our lore dives. We look forward to seeing you again for more Elden lore.